has to do with women, so that we finish with this, is vetting yesterday of the Deputy Chief Justice nominee in Parliament, Justice Philomena Mwilu. And something that came up is apparently there was a fallout between her and Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome, which really came out in yesterday during the vetting. And the story that we have is not even about any other thing on both the Standard, page 8 of the Standard, and Daily Nation, page 6. Yeah? And both headlines are about the MP and the judge and the fallout. MP on my case since 2011. Yeah? Apparently they were in university at about the same time, have faced each other in court, and have shared the same judicial space since their youth, but they just cannot stand each other. Yes, the Member of Parliament actually presented a petition before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that was vetting the DCJ nominee, and she sat throughout the entire session just to prosecute her case. And surely when we say sometimes women have been accused of being their own enemies, because people expected that since it's a woman who is being vetted for this position, very senior position in the judiciary, that all other women would come and support her.
First of all, Fred, I think it's wrong to assume that a woman will support another woman just because they are women. That is not right. Because women have different preferences, different likes, different dislikes, different convictions. So when a woman stands up for something against another woman, it is not because she's fighting a woman. But that said and done, I understand what Ms. Wahome, where Ms. Wahome is coming from. Yes. This really arises from the petition, election petition that she'd had. Yes. And I know how much one feels and how much one gets involved in elections. And when you think things didn't go wrong, you go to court and you expect fair hearing. So Wahome felt that she did not get a fair hearing or fair treatment from the lady, the nominee. Yes. And what is coming out, because the other day I read that she was charging that the nominee actually received 3 million as a bribe yes. From her opponent, and she felt that she didn't get justice. So I understand that, but I also think that to make this whole thing about Wahome and the nominee was just not right. You put your case and let the whole team decide, but it became like a one-on-one, you know, a real fierce one-on-one battle, which is not what it's supposed to be, yes. You know. Because
as I always say, what we do on this panel is actually discuss the headlines as they are. We do not create our own news. And yes. Both the Standard and Daily Nation, if you look at the Standard, page 8, Deputy Chief Justice nominee explains fallout with Kandara MP. Yes. On the Nation, judge MP on my case since 2011. This was the main thing. People even forgot about anything.
Yeah, so now it becomes too personal, yes. You know, and then we forget to look at issues on which we are supposed to judge the nominee. Yes. You know, so.
Do you feel the same way?
I think, yeah, I think this tendency, okay, to always jump. Yes, it is true. We want to support our women, particularly when they get into, you know, into positions of such, you know, serious positions. But that does not stop, you know, any fellow woman who has information that she thinks can be able to you know, to help the panel decide whether or not the nominee is the right person. You know, there is this tendency of making it look like all women are homogeneous and that all of us are going to think and act as a unit, you know. So really, I mean, it's in her constitutional right for Alice to bring, and that's why these petitions are open, that if you have information that you think it should be out there in the public, then, you know, go ahead and bring it. But, you know, let's not have this thing looking like it's a duel between between two women. If it's a petitioner and she has got a petition to bring before, you know, this committee, and that's what she really did.
Do you agree with how the media decided to handle this particular vetting process?
It's sensational.
It is. That's why I mean, it is always.
Yeah, they've gone as usual. You know, to show that women.
These are two women. Women, the usual cliche. Women are their worst enemies, and it's the you know. The usual story. I mean, it wouldn't be news, I can assure you, if it was a man, as they always do, hitting out at another man. But because it is now, you know, women, our fellow woman, this is why it has made the news that it has made. So let's just, you know, judge Madam Mwilu for who she is, and you know, and you know, take all issues on board, you know, that have been brought.
Fred, I don't know. I don't know why you picked on that one. I also hoped that you're going to talk about the appointment of Justice Lenaola.
Oh yes.
To the Supreme Court.
Justice Lenaola was appointed to the Supreme Court yesterday, and we could discuss that headline as well. It's there. It's a much bigger headline, but of course, this one was given prominence on the Daily Nation. That's why I started with it. Of course, High Court Judge Isaac Lenaola has been promoted to the Supreme Court. The 49-year-old judge beat a pool of senior judges from the Court of Appeal who had applied for the position to replace retired Judge Philip Tunoi. And this one was pretty straightforward. I don't think there was any petition against Justice Lenaola.
No, there wasn't. But the issue coming from this is, if you look at the Constitution, and we keep on talking about this two-thirds gender principle, and you look at the nominating body, which is the Judicial Service Commission, which really is supposed to spearhead the Constitution.
Yes.
And there were ladies or women who vied for the same position, highly qualified also. And in making these appointments or these nominations, you are not restricted to considering the person who scores the highest mark.
Yes.
You know, there are other considerations that you should give. And the Constitution is so clear in Article 27 when it stipulates that not more than two-thirds of either gender will dominate either an appointive or an elective position or body. And here we are, the JSC, knowing exactly what the Constitution states and not being short of women to nominate into this position, actually goes ahead and nominates a man. I know Justice Lenaola. I've sat in a selection panel with him. I know he's qualified, but all I'm saying is, so when do we begin to respect the Constitution? If even our bodies like JSC cannot adhere and respect the Constitution and make it seem to work. When? Because currently they know that the Constitution, I mean the Supreme Court only has two females.
2 women now.
2 women.
Yes.
Out of 7.
Only one, because now the DCJ nominee is still being vetted.
Yes, yes, and you can see the issues. So the current sitting one is only one. So I would have expected the JSC to take that into consideration so that at least we begin to see at least one body respecting the two-thirds gender rule.
Yes. Does the National Assembly have a say in this?
Well, not quite, but of course the nominee will come. Will come for I think. I'm not sure.
Because here they're talking about appointment. I don't know, because on the others they refer to them as nominees because they still have to come through the National Assembly.
No. I think it is just the CJ that comes.
So this one is a direct appointment to the Supreme Court. So it is done.
This is done.
Yes.
I think, Fred, this has been, you know, it's become like a broken record. This thing of two-thirds rule, and you know, you can see that the more we speak about it, it's like you know, we take even 3 or 4 steps back. So and the judiciary, as you saw, they gave us the advisory the last time when things were really looking like you know, we are breaking the Constitution and we are not going to meet the constitutional requirements. They gave you know, the advisory that this thing, the Parliament should come up with legislation to show how we can do this thing progressively, and quite clearly in all their actions, it clearly shows that this is what they are thinking is. They are not following the Constitution. The Constitution did not say it should be done progressively. Yes. But in every action that they do, including this one of putting Justice Lenaola, it clearly shows that they have no intention, even the judiciary as a body, of meeting this no more than two-thirds rule. I mean, you saw what the committee Chepkonga yesterday brought to Parliament, you know, as a way of showing that the thing is still on the table. We are doing something about it. So they bring a bill to actually confirm the advisory from and that one was really cheeky on the part of the chairman of legal committee.
But Joyce, what you and your colleagues don't really understand is that by 27th August 2016, time lapsed for you. Because that was after you sought the extension, the 1-year extension, which was legally allowed. But after that, basically what you're doing now, you're out of time, you just need to get out.
The situation as it is right now, following Justice Lenaola's appointment to the Supreme Court, means that the only sitting judge of the Supreme Court who is female is Justice Njoki Ndung'u. And if if Justice Philomena Mwilu is actually approved by Parliament and subsequently appointed by the President, she'll become the second female judge of the Supreme Court in a group of 7, in a bench of 7 judges.
Yes, and we've always been fighting for at least one more woman.
This one appointment would have actually
done it. Yes, would have.
Justice Lenola, we get to around 28%.
Yes.
At least 1/3 would give us 30%, or 33%. You know, so we are way below. And for a commission, a body like this, if its composition does not respect 2/3, which one will?
Which one will?
Okay.
Which one will?
Of course, the National Gender Commission on Monday wrote to the JSC and President Uhuru Kenyatta demanding that the position is filled by one of the female candidates who were interviewed for the job, but that did not happen. Moving on to another story that has to do with women. Now, I don't know what you're going to say about this one, and it's a report on the page 10 of the Daily Nation. And the report says that women outdo men in violent crimes. Yes. A larger percentage of females in remand prison for offences like murder and robbery than men. But granted, it is a percentage. So, of course, there are fewer female prisoners in Kenya as compared to the male prisoners. So, a larger percentage of women than men are in remand prisons for violent crimes such as murder, grievous harm, and robbery. This is according to an audit report released yesterday. The report also says that more women are in custody for petty offences that could have attracted non-custodial sentences. So, we end up putting more women for petty offences behind bars. And these are women who could have been taking care of their families, probably given other punishments. What do you have to say about this?
I am quite surprised myself about at least the petty crimes. I can almost understand, because I mean, we see it all the time. You know, poverty has a face of women. You know, it is women that are the lowest of the low. It's women that fend for their families. It's women. I'm not trying to justify, that how they, they get to be, quite a lot of them in the petty crimes. But I am surprised about the violent crimes, But since it's a report, I'd like to understand really how this report was, came up, and
I think in the violent crimes. I don't think it's women killing to steal. It's women committing those crimes out of love.
Crimes of passion.
Yes. Disappointment, betrayal, and they see nothing else but to sort it out that way. So if you look at causes or reasons why they are behind bars for those violent crimes, it will not be for stealing and for doing things like that. It's crimes of passion.
Yes.
And for the petty crimes, women don't, like my friend says, they don't have too much money, and you're given an option to pay a fine. You don't have that fine, so obviously you'll go inside. So that obviously increases the number of women behind bars, because they don't have the money to build themselves out. Yes.
Because according to the Kenya Criminal Justice System Audit, which was commissioned by the National Council on Administration of Justice, some 49% of women in custody were charged with violent crimes, followed by property crimes such as stealing and theft by servants.
This must be all the maids. This must be all the maids and all this.
You're working for, and most of the time they're working for a rich Indian, for example, and they're so it's just trying to fend, like she's already said, trying to fend for your family, looking for ways and means to fend for your family, So you think you can, which is not right, obviously. It is not right. But at least the reasons behind it is the desire to fend for your family or to give your family a better life. But it's still not right to steal, of course.
Yes. Okay. Now, we're enough discussing about female matters, headlines related to women this morning. And let's now take a look at the main story of the day. Teachers have gotten a new deal. It's a deal TSC and NAT agree on pay. Details of teachers' new pay deal. TSC and union signed deal that scraps lowest P1 grade and moves all teachers up the salary ladder in historic step. And we do have this story, I think, on Citizen TV. If my director can help me with that, we could watch it now. Yes, but I do understand both of you as teachers, this is something huge. Just looking at the highlights, Lowest paid teacher will earn a basic salary of 21,000, up from 16,000. More than 100,000 will be promoted after phasing out of the P1 entry grade. Basic salary for all teachers also increased, but details to be released later. 2 new job grades rather, meaning that teachers can now be promoted to job groups T and S, similar to those of the civil service. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Teachers' threats to stage countrywide protests can be shelved for now after the Teachers Service Commission signed an elaborate CBA with the Kenya Union of Teachers. A total of 106,000 P1 teachers have been promoted to Group H. The lowest paid teacher in this category banks between 19,000 and 24,000 shillings per month. In a statement to Newsroom, TSC gave no details of the new salaries. NAT has however been demanding an increase of between 200% to 300%. This would have pushed the monthly salary for those in Group H to between 57,000 shillings and 73,000 shillings.
So it's a big win. Everything has been reviewed, including all the grades. All teachers are moving. All of them substantially. Yeah. Rome was not built in a day. Some things.
NAT negotiating team headed by Union Secretary General Wilson Sossion wants the money is awarded gradually and calculated on minimum basic salaries and maintained as salaries move towards the maximum levels for each job group. TSC CEO Nancy Macharia says the CBA signed today recognizes the need to upgrade the lowest entry of a P1 teacher and in addition expand the grading structure of the top cadre of all teachers. The CBA has further created distinct career courses for all teachers that will ensure those in administrative and non-administrative positions have clear career progression paths. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission, together with the National Treasury, endorsed the 4-year CBA that will take effect from the 1st of July 2017. Stephen Leto for Power Breakfast News.
Yes, that story by Stephen Leto is what we want to discuss now with my panelists, and we've just been joined by Mama Kiambu and Gadesha, Women Representative, Kiambu County. Good morning, karibu sana.
Good morning, viewers.
You missed the first session where we discussed quite some interesting headlines, but I think you're still in time for this main story of the day. It's a deal TSC and NAT agree on pay. Definitely, of course, we've been following this teacher strike every year, and for the very first time in quite a number of years, because usually all the teacher strikes come in the third term when the exams are just to start. And exams begin, actually the KCSE practical tests have already started this week, and next week we have KCPE from the 1st of November to 3rd of November. Then the following week KCSE in earnest starts, and for the very first time with only a week to the national exams, we have a deal. Positive news from NAT, no strike. Wilson Sossion is smiling, and I don't know.
Oh, this is really good. I mean, and I want to say actually there is some very good changes in the education sector. I want to give some, some of it to Matiang'i. I think he has had his time, but this time round I can see there is a lot of work that has been done to ensure that there is some smooth running. I know we had the issue of the banning of the schools, but this one for teachers, I know is something that is going to make them very happy. And I'm also going to attribute it. You are talking of this is not a women's story, but there is a woman involved. Yeah, I can see Mrs. Macharia there, yes. And even the chair lady of TSC is also a lady, and I'm happy that they have managed to get us into the exam mode without without any mishaps, and Sossion should continue smiling and dealing with issues related to teachers.
Of course, the lady we are talking about is the Teacher Service Commission Chief Nancy Macharia, whose face now is on both front pages of the Standard and the Daily Nation. She spearheaded this collective bargaining agreement, and you can see there on the front page of the Daily Nation her handing over, exchanging the deal, signed deal with NAT Secretary General Wilson Sossion. But Rosa Boy, do you agree that CS Matiang'i should actually take credit for this deal?
Fred, first of all, call me a pessimist, I don't care. But I hope Sossion will be smiling for a long, long time. Because we've had him smile so many times before. And then before the deal is effected, the smile is cut short and we see him on the street. And I just hope this is not a government ploy, because remember the teachers had already threatened to go on strike. I hope it's not a ploy from the government or from TSC to dupe the teachers into running the exam smoothly, and then come January or the time that this is supposed to be put in effect, then Sossion begins to cry again. This is my hope. But I also want to say this. At least Kenyans can now see how poorly teachers were paid. Remember the last time we were here, we looked at a sensational headline of teachers demanding 300% salary increase. And I told you that 300% of nothing is actually nothing. Now you can see that teachers who've gone through training, who are professionals in their own right, you can see that their salaries were 16,000.
Yes, it's moving from
I think even on
16,000
the
and
top
moving
end of
up
the
to
standard,
21,000.
Yes.
Look at the scales that have been indicated there
Yes,
on
from
the standard.
21,000 to 27,000. That is the lowest paid teacher. The highest paid is between 131,000 and 157,000.
A teacher who goes to university and takes trains for 4 years or runs through the university for 4 years and does teaching practice and goes to school to begin their career actually earns less than 50,000 shillings.
Yes.
You know, I think around 37,000 or so. So what I'm saying is teachers have been so lowly paid, so lowly paid, and each time they've been demanding anything, the country thinks that they're demanding things that are out of reach, out of this world. But I'm happy that the deal has come through, but I also hope that the deal will stick and will actually be effective.
My question, do you agree that CS Matiang'i should take credit for this?
Yes.
I don't think CS Matiang'i sits in TSC, and TSC is an independent TSC is an independent commission, and I don't see where Matiang'i comes in. Really, I don't see where he comes in into this
Let's bring in Anga Nyokadi into this conversation. And for Uhuru Kenyatta, definitely in an election year, this is positive news. Of course, one thing that has to be noted is that all teachers will have these new salary scales beginning July next year, and that's just a month to the election date. If it doesn't happen,
and remember, teachers are threatened to vote out the Jubilee government.
Yes.
Now they are safe and sound.
Well,
inside
first
the
of all,
Jubilee.
I think we need to also commend CS Matiang'i. Under his leadership and guidance, we've been able to see real structural reforms that are taking place within the education sector. And of course, at the helm of it all, we can see women leadership and where it can take when they actually sit down, set their mind to making the necessary reforms so that we can produce children who are well-schooled, children who get the education that is required, instead of producing half-baked students that cannot write a composition or an essay in university. When we take a look at some of the reforms as well that have been included, is the issue of qualification, certification. We have in academic institutions where people have been teaching the same subject for 30 years. There's no retraining that goes on. You know, learning has changed. We know that learning styles, it's not like before where it was rote learning. Right now, it's important that we focus on the abilities of the child, bringing out their competencies and skills, rewarding our teachers, to ensure that when they do take on their academic subjects, that we appreciate the work that they have done. The issue of the pay is one that I'm sure is going to be affected, whether it's 1 month to the election. And the reason is this. With the accountability measures that the Jubilee government is insisting take place, and we know that that is the reason there has been a lot of unrest within various sectors within the government, because nobody really wants to be accountable. All the taxes that are being collected need to be paid so that we can actually strengthen institutional capacity, so that we are able to focus on the right training for the teachers. They need upgrading every single year. We need to ensure that the teachers, when they do come in, every year they recertify themselves. And we've seen what has happened in many cases within the education sector. The sexual pests need to be done away with, and they need to be listed. Those accountability and structural reforms measures that are being put in under the leadership of Nancy Macharia and Chairman Maria Nzomo, I think it's fantastic, and it's the direction, the way we need to go. And that is the reason why we need to ensure that that 1/3 gender is enshrined in every single institution within the country.
Yes.
I think for me, actually, before we move out of this story, I don't know what you're going to say, is that for me, if, for example, we can get this issue of teachers right, because, okay, they are getting a salary increment, you know, and we are very happy, and we hope that, you know, it will bring some quiet in the industry. But you know that the biggest problem that we have is the lack of teachers in schools, that we have such a huge shortfall that yes, we are going to give the ones who are there, but the more serious problem is the issue of what are we doing in addressing the shortage.
Yes.
Because I think we have, I'm told, over 80,000 teachers required in schools, and it's true. I mean, I'm in a constituency. I know you go into schools and you find there's only 2 TSC teachers, 1 TSC teacher, and these are, you know, secondary schools with, you know, students that have almost, you know, into Form 3, Form 4. So the more serious issue is, as we are happy and that this deal has gone through, but can TSC seriously think about addressing the shortage?
Do you share the pessimism that Madam Rosa Buyu has in terms of quite actually this deal being effected?
The deal will be effected, and the good thing is there is time. I mean, there is time for them to make sure that, and they know the consequences of the deal not coming through in next year, July. So I don't think the Jubilee government, and I know my government, I don't believe that the Jubilee government can go into a deal of this kind a month before election and not meet it. So this is going to happen. But just before you leave that, the other issue, of course, is the exams. Yes. And why I think you are talking about whether Matiang'i should be given credit for one thing or another, but I think we must give him credit, and let's wait and see what happens this year. Yes. That up to this point, remember the shambles that this country went into last year about exams and the cheating in exams. So everybody you know is really looking forward to seeing what happens this year.
Yes, and related to that, exactly what you're talking about, on page 2 of the Daily Nation, we have this headline: national exams were reset this year, according to the CS Matiang'i. He told the National Assembly's Education Committee, chaired by Murang'a Women Rep Sabina Chege, that examinations were reset to avoid any leakages, because he says in previous years the questions had been set 2 years in advance, and probably loopholes. So he was just listing some measures taken. For example, lockable dry steel containers will be placed at the Deputy County Commissioner's offices, which will have 2 padlocks, and all these new measures. Are you confident about the exam situation this year?
No, I mean, what he's saying, that is the right move. Because if you set exams 2 years in advance, you don't know what is happening to it, and it's set by people, it's manned by people, so you don't know, you cannot be too safe. So and I think they should actually be resetting exams every year so that people don't know what is coming, you know, just to cut that leakage. So that I think is the right move.
Yes.
And that is directly related to Matiang'i. As far as Teacher Service Commission is concerned, I don't see